Hello and welcome to Pet Watch. Today I have some very special guests who are connected to the Williamson County Animal Center in a sort of indirect way. They're from a group called Retrieving Independence, and their names are Jessica Petty, Executive Director. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Mike Marzella. And our other special guest is Liam, the Golden Retriever. They're on the floor. Jessica, you're the Executive Director of Retrieving Independence. So tell us exactly, we see that Liam is a service dog. So tell us a little bit about your organization overall. What's your mission?
Okay, so we've been a nonprofit in the Williamson County area since 2012. And our mission is to basically change lives through the unconditional love and service of an assistance dog for our recipients. We breed and train the dogs, and we place them after about 2 years within the program.
Now, there are lots of terms kicked around nowadays about emotional support animals versus service animals.
Yeah.
What exactly sets apart a service dog from other animals that people might have along with them and try to get on an airplane or have in a public place?
Yeah, so a dog like Liam is specifically trained for the needs that Mike has. Whereas an emotional service dog doesn't necessarily have to be trained, just their mere presence may help someone. But these dogs go through a very extensive training process that lasts almost 2 years. With an emotional support dog, that's not necessarily the case. And with the internet, anybody can order a service jacket and pass a dog off, any way that they want. But through the training of a service dog, they are protected by the ADA.
I think the whole industry suffers from a lack of any kind of universal certification or anything like that. It's kind of just grown up, and as the years go on, I hope you'll be able to define better the service dogs for the benefit of people like Mike. Now, Mike, you happen to be a veteran.
Yes, I am.
Tell me, how did you get connected with Retrieving Independence and end up with Liam?
So I tried for a couple years to get a service dog, and just everything kept on falling through. And so I worked for Operation Stand Down at the time, and they received a call from Jessica asking if they had any veterans that were in need of a service dog. And my boss at the time immediately thought of me and called me in, and that's how we got paired up.
And tell us about your service to our country.
So I was in the Army, in the infantry for 8 years.
Or 8 years. And did you serve in the field?
Yes.
In combat? Okay. And what did you find when you returned to the real world and came out of the Army?
So I've been through roller coaster rides, coming back in long stories on where I've been, but so in 2014 I attempted suicide and was officially diagnosed with severe depression and PTSD. And that started my journey towards working with the VA and going through the mental health counseling, and started my path towards finding a service dog as well.
And that is an epidemic among our veterans. The statistics are, are you able to quote any statistics about veterans and returning?
22 veterans a day.
A day.
Commit suicide.
And this dog has made a difference in your life.
Oh, yeah, I mean, huge difference.
What is the relationship with Liam? How does that happen?
The relationship, you can't really explain it. I mean, there's really no words that can describe the relationship or what he does or what he means to me on a day-to-day basis. To understand what he does for me, you have to really understand depression and PTSD and isolation, and just the different things that he does on a daily basis that the average person wouldn't even recognize.
Right.
There's things like at nighttime, he sleeps on the end of our bed, and he doesn't move until I'm asleep. When I finally go to sleep, because I do have difficulties falling asleep at night, then he will get down, or if he notices that we've been laying in bed for a longer period of time than normal and I'm wide awake, he will move from the end of the bed and come up and lay next to me, just put his head on my chest, or try to comfort me in some way. And that's without me even saying a word about it. It's just he just does it on instinct. One of the stories I like to tell everybody is the first night I had him. We were in the hotel at camp, and I didn't let him sleep in the bed the first couple of nights because we weren't sure if he was going to sleep on the floor or in the bed. And so he was sleeping on his bed next to the bed in the hotel. And about 1 o'clock in the morning, I was asleep, and when Liam gets a ball in his mouth, he gets very excited and headbutts you. So about 1 o'clock in the morning, I feel that, and he's headbutting me, and I wake up, and so I'm really confused at that point. I don't know if he has to go outside. I mean, it's the first day I've had him. And so I wake up, and I looked at him, and he jumped down when he realized I was awake, and he went and got a teddy bear that we had gotten for him the first day. And he came and he put it in my arm, licked my face, and laid back and went back to bed. So another thing is I have nightmares, and I don't know. And I don't remember my dreams or my nightmares when I wake up, and I don't know when I'm having them. So, our guess was that I was having one of my nightmares, and he
You vocalized or stirred in your
something,
sleep.
and he came and made sure that I was good.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're amazing. We love our pets, and we all want to tell everybody that our pet's the smartest pet in the world. But when you have a dog with this intuitive talent, it's amazing. It's above and beyond, doing a simple trick in the house. It's a soul to soul kind of bond. So how does a dog work? How does it work in retrieving independence? Where do you start? Do you start with puppies?
We do. So we breed and train our own dogs, and part of that is for health and then also for temperament. And so they start at 4 weeks of age, the socialization process. From there, they will go and live with, we have volunteer puppy raisers who are just amazing, and they have these puppies for 8 weeks. And then from there, we have a partnership with the Tennessee Department of Corrections where we train the dogs inside a local prison. And so at that point, that's when they're going to go into the prison to start their official training at 4 months of age.
Now, do you depend on volunteers for the breeding, to place a pregnant mom with, and they commit to staying through the birth of the puppies to how many weeks?
So we have dogs that are within our breeding program. So those are volunteers that we have placed a breeder dog with. And yes, they will have the dog, and then, periodically we will breed the dog. And they are part of that entire process.
Wow. So as early as 4 weeks, someone goes into that home where those puppies are.
And we start socialization with different sounds, different textures, things they can walk over to start getting used to different surfaces. It's really important to us to expose them to as many things as possible because we don't know on the back end where they're going to be. So we want to make sure that they're fully prepared for any sort of environment. But for a dog like Liam, within the local prison system, you often have inmates that do have post-traumatic stress as well.
Sure.
And so we can start to see early on dogs that have that intuitive sort of connection, and they will start to display behaviors like what Mike was talking about at a very early age. And so specifically with Liam, all the dogs are trained for mobility, and Liam can do all of those things, but we knew what a special dog he was and that he really needed to be with someone that this was their need. And so for us, that's where we specifically sought out someone like Mike, and we were so blessed that that connection was made.
Yeah. So in addition to, in your case, Liam comforts you and understands when you're having a bad moment or a flashback or a nightmare or anxiety, I would assume. And there are other things that dogs can be trained for, people that have actual physical disabilities. Tell me some of that, because it's amazing when I looked at your website, all the things a dog can actually do for a human who may not be able to do it themselves.
Yeah. So our training center within the local prison is set up similar to what you'd find in a home. So there's a refrigerator, there's obviously bathroom facilities, there's a washer and dryer there, and so they can retrieve things from a refrigerator. There's cabinetry. They know how to get things from cabinets. They can actually move, if it's a front load washer and dryer, they can actually move laundry over. We haven't taught them how to fold yet, but they can
Yeah.
move the laundry. So all of the dogs are trained for mobility, but we also place dogs for people that have seizures or have needs around, a diabetic alert dog and things like that.
Right. Familiar with the Diabetic Alert Dogs of Tennessee program, which
Yes.
is specific to that. Now, though Mike is a veteran, you work with all ages of persons and people with both emotional, mental, and physical disabilities. So
That's correct.
can you tell me a little bit about maybe some children you might have worked with and placed a service dog with?
Absolutely. So we do not place dogs with children under the age of 10, and a lot of that is because we need the child to be cognitively at a point where they can give the commands, because if the parent starts to give the commands, the dog will bond more with the parent.
Okay.
So we need the child to be at an age where they are able to do that. But we have we have children that we've placed that have mobility issues, muscular dystrophy, things like that, but also with children that have suffered trauma early in their lives, particularly children maybe that have been adopted or have had severe medical issues and have a lot of anxiety that they deal with, nightmares, things like that, attachment to the parents. They don't want to be on their own. And so for them, the comfort of their service dog gives them a feeling of independence. And particularly as a child gets into their teenage years, that's really important for them to start to be able to separate from the parents. We just placed a dog with a young lady that's 16 and suffers from seizures. And so her parents are very afraid to be away from her in case she does have a seizure. But now with the service dog, the dog is trained to alert the parents. So they're more comfortable being a further distance from her, which when you're 16 years old,
Right.
as much as I'm sure that she loves her parents, she wants a little bit of space.
Right.
So we've had some great success from mobility to, dealing with anxiety and things like that, even with younger people.
And dogs are very flexible, and they learn the routine. And in her case, the 16-year-old, he sometimes can recognize she's about to have a seizure before she even knows it.
Correct.
Then he,
Will
as I
alert.
understand it, can take steps. He tries to comfort her, get her in a safe place.
Correct.
And then the dog knows to go to get someone else.
Correct.
I've heard that dogs can even call 911. Is that true? Are you working on that one?
We can work on that one. I don't know that we've seen that with our dogs yet, but definitely we can install things within the homes that are at their level that they can push that will create an alarm and things like that to very easily alert people.
Yeah, I saw that in your training. You actually have a wall that has different doorknobs, buttons,
Correct.
and things they can push with their paw, and other things they push with their nose.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Most of our dogs are just couch potatoes at home, and to understand that a dog can be taken to the next level and actually change someone's life. I want to go back to the prison. How did that get started? Because that's actually a form of some kind of ministry in itself, that a person in prison has a purpose. Do they get bonded with the dogs too? Is this a special, I'm sure it's a very special experience for certain inmates.
It is. It is. Tennessee Department of Corrections has been incredibly supportive of this program, and from the very beginning saw the potential to help rehabilitate the inmates as well. And so for us, obviously they're learning a skill of how to train a dog, but most importantly, they're learning how to, because our training is strictly around positivity, so there's no force. And so you have to learn to get a dog to do something that you want the dog to do without coercing them, using fear or anything like that.
Okay.
And so that's a life skill in itself, right? And
Right.
so we actually have, unlike some other service dog organizations, we have a counselor on our staff. And we realized early on how important that was, because you're working with the inmates to help them learn how to train a dog, but you're also teaching them new life skills. And so when you do that, things come up for them. And so it's really important for us that we have our trainer there, and side by side we have our counselor. And so it's really a holistic approach. And it's something that we're very proud of. And you're correct, the men get very, very attached to the dogs. And we do a graduation within the prison, and they speak, and they have an opportunity to meet the recipients and share everything that has happened in that training process. And they get to show off their skills and things like that, which is really nice. But it's very moving and it's very redemptive for them.
Oh, I can imagine. Now, what is, Mike, you mentioned when I was at camp, when I was at training camp. So that was right after you got Liam? Liam came into your life permanently?
So it was right after graduation. There's a 10-day training camp where we bond with the dogs. We learn how to work with the dogs and how to train with them, and they learn how to work with us as well.
So for 10 days, it's just you and the dog and other helpers from the organization that are helping you and the dog learn things together. So what Liam instantly knew that you were having a problem the first night, as you described, and since then, how has things changed? What does Liam do now?
So again, it's really understanding the isolation or the want to isolate. He doesn't let me do that. There isn't a dull moment in the house because there is no just sitting on the couch. There's no I'm gonna just take today and just lay around, or because today will turn into tomorrow, which will turn into a week, and
Right.
So he's constantly. I can lay on the couch for maybe like 10, 15 minutes before he's getting a ball and jumping on me and wanting to play. But just being out in public, that's another issue. Being in large crowds and just having him out in the crowds, because I watch him a lot, and he's constantly watching me, but he's also watching the crowds. He's either standing in front of me, and you'll see him every once in a while. He looks behind me, and he's watching behind me, and so that gives me a sense of security of being out in crowds where I don't really have to worry who's coming up behind me or things like that. But also just having him out in daily life. I mean, you're constantly, I can tell him anything, and I know that nobody else is going to know. And it's quite interesting. I talk to him nonstop. When we're out in public, it's like people probably look at me like I'm pretty strange.
No, I don't think. I think we all talk to our dogs. You're okay.
Talking to him nonstop.
Totally normal. I talk to my dog all the time.
So, but just things like that. Once my anxiety starts, I have a couple signs of anxiety. Usually, it's a lot to do with my hands. So I'll start with my hands, rubbing and squeezing my hands, or I'll grab my beard a lot. And a lot of times when he starts seeing that, he breaks those habits.
He steers you in another direction
Right,
through his behavior.
Through just
He
distraction.
steers you away from crowd. He steers you, get off the couch. He
Yep.
leads you.
A lot of distraction and, making me think about, making my mind go to other places.
Right, right. So what role is Mike now playing in the organization Retrieving Independence?
So we're very fortunate that we are growing, and so now we're going to expand into another prison, so we're going to go into the women's prison. And so that has allowed us to bring on Mike, and he is our development director now, which we're very excited about. A big part of what Mike will help do is to be out in the community, because as you pointed out earlier, there are people that don't understand exactly what a service dog is, what they do for the person that they're connected to. And so Mike is an incredible ambassador for us, and of course Liam. I mean, this dog is beautiful, so everybody's attracted to Liam. So we're very excited about that, because we feel like this is such an important mission, and we want to make sure that everybody in the community really understands what's happening and has an opportunity to be involved if they choose to be.
And we talked about the importance of reaching our veterans who are having problems when they come back from combat. And what better than a person who's actually been through this and suffered all of these things that a veteran may not be wanting to talk about, and to have you say, hey, I've been there, I know it, and this has changed my life, let me tell you about it, would be amazing. And going back to the training a little bit, what is the farm? What is that experience?
So the farm is this amazing facility that's off of 96, and they have been incredible partners to us throughout, the evolution of the organization. And so they have been a big part of the socialization of the puppies, and they've really bonded with the dogs, have participated in puppy naming, all sorts of things, and have just been a tremendous supporter to us.
Okay, this is the farm at Natchez Trace?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so what, do you actually take the puppies out there and they
So
learn to socialize in different settings, or what happens out there?
So in the past, we have taken the dogs at from 4 to 8 weeks, and they've been there. And their staff has been instrumental in working with us to make sure that that socialization starts immediately at 4 weeks. So they're introduced to at least 100 new people a week. We want them to be different ages, different types of people. We love it if they can be exposed to people that already have mobility issues at an early age, because we don't want them to be afraid of canes or, any of those sorts of
Right.
things. So we want them exposed to as many people as possible. And the farm, they completely understand the importance of it, the mission, and they have been tremendous partners.
Now, you mentioned volunteers. Now, tell me what it takes to be a volunteer for you at these different stages. We talked about a person that might take a pregnant female and see the puppies through their birth and then start the socialization process. And then aren't there some like weekend breakouts? So tell me about that.
Yeah. So we would not be here without our volunteers, and I can't stress that enough. Mike makes, the fourth full-time employee. So really and truly, this organization is built on volunteer spirit. And so we have over 100 active volunteers, and they do things from puppy raising and the breeder program to what we call weekend furlough volunteers. And so because the inmates aren't doing all the things that the recipients would be able to do just
Right.
by being where they are, we really need our volunteers to help us with this socialization piece of it. So they take them to the movies, they take them to restaurants so that they can get used to those environments. They take them to crowded places so that the dogs are really calm in those situations. Anything you can think of.
And the vehicles are important because they don't get in and out of vehicles or understand
Correct.
the correct way to get into a car or van, et cetera, because
Absolutely.
they don't have that access at the prison.
Yep. Yeah. So they're incredibly important to us. But even beyond that, I mean, we have an amazing volunteer that helps with the vest and, customizing them to each dog as they grow. So the puppies obviously have much smaller vests, and then as they grow, they get bigger. So we have people that work with us doing all sorts of things, helping with fundraising, helping with things like cleaning the bus. There's so much that goes into taking care of these dogs. And so when somebody comes to us and they feel connected to the mission, whatever their skill set or their desires are, we try to find a way to let them be a part of it.
How many dogs have you placed already?
So we've placed 49 dogs. We generally have 2 graduations a year. Now with expanding to the women's prison, that will increase. So we're excited about that.
And how many people do you have that have made application that are waiting right now for an animal?
So we've done a really great job of identifying the right people. There are people that have needs that we don't serve. We don't serve hearing impairment. We don't serve vision loss. So we screen very, I believe, very well to make sure that we're matching and that
Sure.
it's a successful match. So generally when somebody applies and we deem that we're a good fit and they feel good about us, it's usually maybe a year to a year and a half process until they receive their dog.
What is the cost to the person that might need a dog or think they need a dog? Or what does it end up being? Is it underwritten by donations? Or?
So the total investment in each dog over the course of their training program, and then we follow them for another year, is $25,000. Within that, we have amazing donors. We have our fundraising events and things like that. And so currently, the recipient cost is $9,500 of that $25,000. And we feel that that is a fairly good price point. We will probably try to get a little bit lower. But we feel that it's a big commitment, and we like that our recipients are making that commitment as well, and really thinking through it, because it's a lifetime of the dog commitment.
Sure.
And so we want them to feel really invested.
That's how we are at the shelter. We try to tell people this is not a momentary decision. This is an animal that's to stay with you for the rest of its life. So, yeah, people get caught up in emotion at the shelter
Yes.
as well. So those are things you have to temper. And well, it sure has been great speaking with both of you. And Mike, we thank you for your service to our country, and we're so glad that you have found a way to cope now that you've returned to us, and that you're finding a way to pay it forward with other veterans. If someone's interested in finding out more, you have a website, retrievingindependence.org.
Yes.
Is that the place to start?
That's a great place to get information, see videos, and learn more.
Okay, great. I'd like to let our viewers know that we will be having April rabies clinics out in the community starting Saturday, April 6th. We'll have clinics at College Grove Elementary, Westwood Elementary in Fairview, and Centennial High School. And then on the 13th of April, we'll be at Bethesda Deli and Market, Hillsborough Middle, and Page Middle. And then on the 20th of April at Brentwood Middle, Independence High School, and Nolensville Elementary. Those are all from 1 to 3 p.m. And then, of course, we'll have our final last Saturday of the month clinic at the shelter on April 27th. And at the shelter, they're from 9 to 11. So if you want more about when those rabies clinics will be in your community, it's only $10. And unfortunately, there has been a rabid skunk found in Williamson County already this year. So it's more important than ever to protect your pets. And when you protect your pet, you protect all the other people in your family and your community. So if your pet has a rabies vaccine, it cannot catch it from a rabid skunk. So remember that, and think of the spring as the time to get that shot done. If you need to see that schedule or learn more, you can look on the adoptwcac.org website. On Friday, April 12th, we will have a pup meetup in downtown Franklin at the Visitor Center. I hope you can stop by and come to our puppy kissing booth. It's going to be a fun downtown event. Then we'll be at the Main Street Festival, April 27th and 28th. And there'll be a dog pop-up park, a pet-friendly park right next to Landmark Booksellers this year. So it'll be fun if you bring your dog down to the Main Street Festival, April 27th and 28th. Look for us at that pop-up park. And we'll have kittens in the window of Walton's Jewelry, as we do every year. On Saturday, May 4th, everything you ever wanted to know about cats will be at our Cinco de Meow Festival at the Animal Center. It is free, and a best-selling author Pam Johnson-Bennett will be there, along with cat vendors and lots of fun. So that's Saturday, May 4th at the shelter. As I mentioned, if you want to adopt an animal, you can see all the current pets available through our website, adoptwcac.org. And come see us at the shelter for the best view of those animals. Of course, come have a visit one day and see what we do at Williamson County Animal Center. I want to thank our guests once again for Retrieving Independence, and our puppy has gone to sleep here, very relaxed. We thank you for bringing Liam along today, Mike, and you, Jessica, for sharing the mission of Retrieving Independence. I hope to see you all next time on Pet Watch.